and you show up for us. And I want to echo Cari when I say thank you for being a part of this community. And thank you for listening and watching and subscribing and sharing over 200 episodes. And we are really grateful for you, because without you listening and watching, we would not have a podcast. It would just be a couple of sisters laughing through microphones where, we would just FaceTime each other. Like, it's not even, it's because of you. And so we love you and we appreciate you. I'm Cristy Code Red, and you're listening to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle, where we believe food holds the power to heal or poison, and we believe our society has been misled regarding proper nutrition and weight loss. You're in the right place if you're looking for some straight up truth, because I'm here to shed light on the lies and brainwashing that has taken place over the past 5 decades. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome back to another episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I'm your host, Cristy Code Red, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer. Not just any episode, though. Not just any episode. Our 200th episode on Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. We've got a special one planned for you today. It wouldn't be, I was going to do it by myself, but I was like, I don't want to do it by myself. Everything's always better with Cari. And guys, this one is going to be a good one, because we're talking about 10 things we've learned from 200 episodes of podcasting. 200 episodes, 10 things we learned. And Cari's going to do 5 and I'm going to do 5, but we don't know what each other's 5 is.
Cristy, 200. I would like to go back and count up how many I've been on, because it's not 200 for me. You've done quite a bit of solo, and then you had some interviews. But 200 is no joke. Like, that's a lot of podcasts. Don't nobody be complaining at Code Red that we don't give them enough information.
Well, ain't that the truth? I mean, from all the social media platforms and the app and the YouTube channel and everything, and then now the podcast, like, guys, we're consistent. I don't think I've ever missed a week. Every Wednesday, I release one every Wednesday. And I think, Cari, you've been on probably 75% of them, because I have done some interviews and I have got a couple of solo ones out there, but we are excited. And I see that you have a special hat on today, Cari.
I do. For those of you that are watching, one of our mentors, her name is Charlene. She and her wife, Avril, right, Cristy? Did I say that right?
Avril, yeah.
Avril, sorry. It's such a cool name that I always want to say it like Avril, but it's Avril. I don't know why I do that. It's a chicken stocking cap. Also, I need to wash my hair, so I covered it with a very fancy stocking cap for today. Yeah. But I love it. I think it's my favorite hat so far.
Well, I'm in my cabin and I just got done snowshoeing. It's 3 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 16 degrees Celsius for my Canadian friends. But the sun is out. The skies are blue. It was beautiful. So we both, you just did right. We're recording this in January of 23. And, it's just the weather conditions, the conditions of our life, we don't care. We're coming to you no matter what, authentic and real in ourselves. And I think that's what you love about us. So shall we get started? We're going to go back and forth. We'll let Cari go first with number 1 thing. Now, remember, guys, Cari and I are kind of like, this is kind of regarding the podcast, things the 10 things we learned kind of about the podcast or through the podcast, or about you through our podcast. That's kind of what I picked for my 5, and Cari has 5. So Cari, go ahead and start us off.
First of all, I'd like to say that you're a nerd because you converted the temperature.
We've got Canadian friends, and it's really frustrating.
Well, they know how to convert. They live in Canada. I was like, is she really converting? Like, stop. That's funny. Okay, I'm just teasing you. Okay, number 1 has to do with what I have on today, and that is the podcast audience does not seem to care what I wear. That is definitely number 1 I've learned, is that I used to get really upset and I would like go, Cristy, I have to get my hair on. I have to get makeup on. And for those of you that don't know me, I generally don't wear any makeup because I have my whole face tattooed. My brows are tattooed. I have eyeliner. I have lips tattooed. I have lashes on. Like I pay a lot of money to wake up and look like I don't have makeup on, but I still look put together. That is the point. Either that or I have to put makeup on every day. So, but what I have found, and Cristy would tell me this all the time, she would say, Cari, they don't care. They don't care. And I'd be like, they care, they care, they care. But never once have I looked under a podcast and anyone said, wow, Cari looking schluppy today. Like nobody has ever. And not like other, and I'll talk about this later. That's another one of mine, but they just are very forgiving. They don't care if I show up in a sweatshirt. They don't care if I show up with my hair done. I mean, it looks better when Cristy does little video clips on Instagram, but I appreciate that about the podcasting audience. They're here for the content. And that's, I think, definitely my number one thing.
Yeah. And the thing, and I need to have a talk with the coaches and mentors about this because I hear them making comments about like, oh, like apologizing. I didn't put on makeup. And the reality is people don't care. They just don't. They don't care that you don't have any on because to you, you look a certain way, but 9 times out of 10, they can't even see the difference between when you wear makeup and when you don't.
Exactly. So that is definitely my number one, is that the podcast audience in general, podcasting people are here for the content.
Yep.
They are not here. They don't care about what I'm wearing.
That's a good one. That's starting off with, now I'm starting off with my number one, which is probably the least of all of them. I'm there. They're not in any particular order, but one that's probably going to matter to me more than it matters to anybody else. Although I think it matters to you. It's unconscious. You don't realize it. My number one is audio matters when podcasting. Now I know people who record their podcast into their phone and then just go ahead and upload it. And it's got their kids are screaming and fighting in the background. It's like crackly. You can hear their engine revving and it's terrible quality. And I hate that. And so I have learned over 200 episodes that you got to get the audio right to keep your audience, keep your audience engaged. People will tune you out and turn you off if they're irritated. They might not know why they're irritated, but they are irritated, and they're irritated because your audio is crap. And so one thing that I'm really a stickler on is making sure that your audio is good. You'll see a really high quality microphone for both Cari and I. And we've got, we're using our regular webcams or whatever. They don't care as much, like Cari said, about what we look like, but they do want to have good, clear, crisp audio that isn't muffled or doesn't have background noise. And it matters in podcasting.
And I was going to pick that one, Cristy, because I have learned so much from you about I didn't pick it, but about audio. And I have turned off. In fact, there was one, I believe it was last year, and it was a great podcast. It was going to be phenomenal, but they said, hey, the audio is not that great, but the content is good. Nope. It was echoing. There was background noise. I had to turn it off. Like I could not watch it. I could not listen to it. So if you're not ready to podcast, just pause and podcast a little bit later.
Boy, I didn't know that you would. I wasn't sure how you would feel about that one because I didn't even know if you kind of noticed or if that was even on your mind at all.
Well, only from being somebody who consumes podcasts. If, like, for instance, I listened to one person and he recently had a big conference, and part of his podcast, and Cristy, you know who I'm talking about, he is showing the guests from the concert, like in front of a live audience. And they're great little snippets like, hey, I interviewed so-and-so. But the guy was like, yeah, I know the other day I was in it. And it's like back and the audio's, it's a mess. And I was like, oh my Lord, like he's not in front of the mic, which is no big deal if you're there live. But if you have your AirPods in and you're just listening to my voice and I'm doing or sniffing, like it's going to drive you crazy. So Cristy's absolutely right. That's an excellent number 2. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Or number 1.
All right. We're ready for your next one.
Okay. Number 2, I got to look down. I have learned podcasting with you, 75% of the 200 is that podcasting audiences are loyal.
Oh.
If I subscribe to a podcast, I'm going to listen to almost every episode because I subscribe to so few. I'm going to listen to every episode. And when you upload daily or you upload weekly and you don't upload, I'm going to be like, what's wrong? Like, why didn't we get an episode today? Or same thing with us. Our audiences are loyal. They like us. They listen to us. They look forward to Wednesdays to getting to the podcast dropping. and it is something that means a lot to them. And I guess I understood that from doing this with you, but also my own thing. There's just a couple of people I like, and if they were not timely put out good content, it takes a lot for me to unsubscribe from somebody. Once I click that subscribe button on, I have an Apple. So once on Apple podcasting, once I subscribe, I'm going to listen to you. Like, I'm going to try to consume your content on a daily basis if it's available. So it's really hard so I have found that our audiences are loyal.
Man, sis, that is a good one, because I only subscribe to 3 people. That's it. And you're right. Like, I mean, I go in on a regular basis. I know when they're going to upload. I know when something's going to drop, and I'm always irritated when it doesn't and they don't have new stuff for me to listen to. So that's a really good one. Okay, my next one, my number 2, people love when we struggle. People, and okay, let me say it a different way, because some of you guys are like, what do you mean? They love to see that we struggle. Nobody's wishing struggle on us. They're not, but they like to see that we're like them. They like to see that we have a hard time. And we've never shied away from that, you and I. We've shared with people, and I've always taught the coaches and the mentors, and Cari and I follow this. They want to see that we're relatable without being unstable. So it really is received well when people see that we are struggling with something, especially when it's the same thing that they struggle with.
We can't get on and cry. And
Right.
I think that's great. Relatable without seeming unstable. That's excellent. I've never thought of it like that. There is definitely a line. Like, if I got on here and I was like, Cristy, I'm just going to tell you everything that's wrong with me today. After a while, you'd be like,
yeah, it's cringy. It's cringy.
Yeah, this is not a friend. This is not a friend podcast.
Right.
This is not Cari, what's going on in your life, Cari. This is like legit a podcast. So yeah, but I love that. I think people crave authenticity, Cristy. And I think that's great. They want to know that we struggle. That's excellent.
Yeah, they what I notice is when I read the comments, I read the reviews, I read the comments on the YouTubes, and this happens across the board at all my content videos. I upload 3-4 times a week on YouTube, and in the app is always up. Every day we're uploading content into the app. And every time I talk about, or one of our meetings, one of our VIP meetings, or one of our live videos, or anytime I bring up something that we're struggling with, that's what gets the most engagement. And I recently was struggling with my own program that I'm on with Eric Cafferty for my own goals of bodybuilding. And I was struggling, and it was all I wanted to do was talk to somebody about it. And so when I shared with Eric's wife, who's also a competitor, I just shared with her some struggles I was having. It felt so good to know that she had gone through that too. I didn't view her as weak. I didn't view her as less than. I didn't go, well, I can't believe she battles with this too. It was like a big relief. It was a big breath of fresh air when I saw, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, she does. She goes through that too. And then she gave me ways that she gets herself out of what I was going through. So I think that's what really helped me realize the audience needs to see that from us, and they appreciate it, and they really engage with us on that.
I agree 100%. But if she had told you her whole life story, you'd have been like,
right. Yeah. If it would have gotten cringy, like she said, yes, I understand. Yes, I've dealt with that. And here's how I got myself out of it. And I don't spend more than 3 days dealing with it. Like, she didn't go on and on and on and then and crying and pouring out her heart. Like, it was very much, I get it. I hear you. You're heard, you're validated. And here's how you move forward. You've got to pull yourself out of this. And so it was really eye-opening when I heard her. All right. You ready for your next one, sis?
Is it number 3?
3. Yeah.
I feel like that one thing I've learned from podcasting is that I'm trying to think of what I meant by this. It's a more flexible format, meaning I feel like there's not so many rules and things like people are more flexible within that system. Like if you want to bring in somebody and talk to them, if we want to talk about how we feel about something, if I want to talk about something that happened to me as a kid, that people will allow more. Now I know what I meant. It just came back. For instance, when we first started the podcast, we didn't talk about God as much. And now that's a regular thing. So I feel like people in that format are willing, even if they're not Christians, willing to hear us do scriptures, willing to hear us flex in and out different ideologies. Like we haven't talked too much about political stuff, but if we bring up something that's political, you immediately aren't going to lose 10,000 followers because of it. People are more forgiving and it's just a flexible format. Whereas if you do a TikTok and God forbid you stated a fact wrong, or if you did a reel on Instagram. I mean, Cristy, I had one reel about colonoscopies that had 3.1 million views on Facebook, and people were horrible to me about my lashes. That's what they gave me a bad time about. There were thousands of comments about my lashes. Just so rude. But, no one ever writes it on the podcast and is like, I really like Cari, but man, her lashes are looking kind of rough. I was switching from a different kind of lash to a new one, just so y'all know. But it's a flexible format. Like you get people that if you misquote a scripture, you're not going to get crucified for that. If you didn't get a fact quite right, I get nervous, like, oh, they're going to write to us. They don't. It's just chatting. But if you were to put top 10 facts about weight loss on an Instagram reel and you got one thing spelled wrong, or you got a fact wrong, they would have a fit. So I appreciate that the podcasting audience, it seems to be a more flexible and a more forgiving format.
That is such an excellent one. And I think it's because only 7% of all communication is verbal. And when we're here talking, you see our body language. So you're seeing from our chest up, you're seeing facial expressions, hand movements, you're seeing shoulders move, and you're hearing our voice inflections, and you're seeing the eyes of the windows of the soul, and you're seeing our heart through. And so we're able to explain, and we're able to give you a better idea of what we mean, because you're able to watch us talk about it instead of just a one way, and we ping and pong off each other. So it's more conversational. And I think that is why it's so forgiving. Man, that's a good one, because they're not as critical of us on podcast because it's more conversational, and it's and they can read our face and read our hearts and read that we mean well. So that's an excellent one, sis. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
That's very good. All right. My next one, number 3, over the course of 200 episodes, we have not been afraid to talk about Jesus. And that's really been, and I know that was kind of when you started to say that, I was like, oh, wow, is she going to say mine next one? We've never been afraid to talk about Jesus, but we've worded it a little differently earlier. In earlier episodes, we would say the word religion. Well, you're not going to hear me say religion ever I don't believe in religion. I believe in relationship. Religion is man-made rules, and I don't like it. And I don't want to have anything to do with religion. And so early on, we would say those things. We would be much more careful. We don't want to get canceled. We don't want to get, canceled by the woke society, and now we just ain't afraid of it. Like we'll just flat out talk about anything. We talk about Bible stories. We bring up scripture. Almost every episode we read scriptures. We will talk about our own childhood experiences in church and our own parents and how they raised us. And we talk about how much we love Jesus and how, and then we talk about the Holy Spirit. We talk about the anointing. And so these are really Christianese kind of phrases and words and terminology that we very freely use that we didn't use on earlier episodes. And I love that about us. And it doesn't seem to, I quit following our rankings. We used to be ranked number 37 of all health, weight loss, and fitness podcasts in the entire North America. And that's, I think, the 300,000 of them. We were ranked pretty high. I quit looking at the numbers. I just didn't care because we were doing what was right for us.
I love that we become more bold in our message. And even people that don't believe in God have been okay with it because they respect that we're being authentic about it.
Yeah, I love that. And you're exactly right. I mean, and even when and we've heard that from people, the feedback we've heard is I didn't even know about Jesus when you guys started talking about it. And then I started looking into it more. We've got a rebel who actually went to a Joyce Meyer revival concert gathering and whatever they're calling them now. And all because of us talking about Joyce Meyer all the time. We love Joyce Meyer. And so it's really been cool to watch us do that. And I feel so free, and I feel very, very good about the amount that we talk about Jesus on here, and our love for Christ, and Christ's love for us, and Christ's love for you. And hopefully you'll see that, we love Jesus, and hopefully that comes through. So I've just noticed that it's gotten a lot different over the last 200 episodes.
Yeah, it really has. Okay, you ready for my next one?
Ready.
Okay, number 4 goes back to audio, but I had it written down, so I'm going to say it. I have learned not to talk over you.
Yes.
Or to even comment, because Cristy says if you're like, that's going to cut into the audio. Like if you've ever noticed when we try to sing together, it doesn't work real well on the podcast. It's one's like, ha, the other one's like, ha, like a beat behind them. We're singing on the same beat in real life, just so y'all know. I just want you guys to know that. But it doesn't work with podcasting. And so I've learned that. And in fact, Cristy, I used to listen to somebody who is very famous, but her podcast, she interrupted people so badly that I completely unsubscribed. It was awful. It gave me a headache. Like, just let them talk. Let them talk. So I've learned that. That has been a big one for me.
That's a great one. And you're so good at it. Even now in person, you don't interrupt. But I don't know if you ever did. I'm trying to think back, like, oh, you've gotten so much better. I don't really recall that being a real big problem of yours. I do know that I've got a big problem finishing people's sentences, and I hate it. I hate that I do it. I recognize when I do it. Cristy, shut up and let them finish. And I don't know why I do that. So you don't jump on top of, and neither of us do that when we're talking to people on video or when we're in other situations. We really have gotten good at letting them. So this has taught us to not do it in person either. So that's a really good one. Good one.
Oh, I know why we talk on top of people, because they take so long to finish their sentence. Get it going. Come on, Bob, wrap it up.
Yeah. My next one, this is number 4, because I'm crossing them off because I don't trust myself to, number 4, even the haters are listening. Even the haters are listening. And I can't prove this. Like, I'm not keeping a running ledger. I'm not keeping, but what I have noticed is, it can be even broader and say even the haters watch. We know the haters watch, but I have posted things before and gotten hater comments underneath from people who, like, I hate Cristy, and I took myself out of the Code Red community. Oh, but you're still watching. And so we know they still listen because it's a good podcast. It's the Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I like the lifestyle part because we do tie it back under Code Red as far as how your health is and your weight loss journey, but we do talk about other things. So the lifestyle part, which I'm glad we threw that in the name, it makes it to where it's fun to listen to. And it's fun. It relates to a lot of different parts of your life. And the haters are still listening to us. And again, I can't quantify this. I don't have any proof. I'm not keeping a ledger, but I do know it's happening because word gets back to me and people make comments about things they heard on the podcast. And I'm like, wait a minute, you heard that on the podcast? Well, you're listening to my podcast? Thank you. And my reply is always, thank you for listening to the podcast.
Welcome, haters. We just want you to know this is a safe place to come and hate on us.
Yeah.
You're all welcome here.
Yeah. Yeah, we love you. And the funny thing is, we've done other podcasts about this, is it always comes back around to real food, water, and sleep. Whether you want to call it Code Red or you want to go on a different program, you're all going to come back. All right. You might not be a part of our community and part of our app, and you might hate me and might unfollow me, but you still checking in with me. You're still watching my stuff. I can see that you are. So haters, we love you anyway. And you're going to have to get a hold of Real Food, Water, and Sleep if you want to get that weight off. So whatever.
Yeah, the scientific principles do not change just because you don't like the way Cristy says things.
Exactly.
Science is still science. Best of luck to you. You can't eat what you want. Expect to be a size 2. Okay, I've never been a size 2. Cristy's about a size 2. Okay. My last one is, I hope I'm not repeating myself, but I have learned through the experience of podcasting, which is quite an experience. Let me tell you, Cristy's always having to get content, and it's not easy. Let me tell you, Cristy does the hard work. I just show up in a chicken hat and talk. So it ain't that hard for me. I'm just saying, I just show up in a chicken hat with my messed up lashes and no bra on, and I talk. That's about it. I currently have a dog on my lap. I mean, it's just, it doesn't end. It's a good thing you can't see my background. Okay. So here's what I have learned. However, not all podcasts are created equal. And the reason I say that is because I listen to some podcasts where people yin and yang, they ping and pong like Cristy and I, and ours are easy. I don't know if it's because we're sisters or if because we're best friends. I don't know what it is, but I've listened to some best friend podcasts and they're like, Bobby, I heard you were playing ping pong on Saturday. And I'm like, dear God, like how much of this do I have to listen to before you get to the contents? Like, I don't care. I do care, but make it relate. And it's so annoying. And then they laugh over each other and they interrupt each other. And then they tell these ridiculous, I'm like, where's your content? You know, and it doesn't have to be all content driven, but I will tell you, that after listening to Cristy and I do the podcast and listening to other podcasts that try to do a similar format, I just think we're really good at it. It is either it's organic, it isn't. You cannot push it because we don't want to make it sound like a Joe Rogan interview. This is not an interview. We're just talking, but it is surprisingly difficult to get that banter on a podcast captured correctly.
And do it without practicing. We never go over our subjects ahead of time. We just we'll both suggest things to each other. We'll both go, well, I'll start us off, and we don't practice. We don't talk about what we're going to say. We do make it. It is organic. And Cari, that is so true. I haven't seen a whole lot of people, and I've tried to listen to the two people leading. I can think of, I'll text it to you later. I can think of somebody specifically off the top of my head that I can't stand. I can't listen to them. And they're just the ping and the pong is super annoying. Oof. It doesn't flow. They interrupt each other and they laugh over each other. And I'm just like, let's go, let's move. Like, you're wasting my time here. So you're right about that. I don't know how we do it. I think you're right. I think some of it's sisters, but I think that some of it is the fact that we just don't interrupt and we let the person, and I have a sense of how much time you're going to take to say something. And I know when to jump in. And if I need to say something, I'll go like this. Oh, and I'll put up a finger or I'll stop you mid-sentence. I don't know how we do it.
I don't either. I have the same sense about you. And this is weird. Cristy and I are like those two people that showed up to sing a special at church. They were singing "I'll Fly Away." And they just looked over at the piano player and it was like key of C. And he started playing and then you just started singing. That is, Cristy and I are like, oh, one glad morning when this life is o'er, or on a hill far away. We just go. He starts playing the key and we just go. We sing. We don't care what it is. We're going to make up the verses. And it just seems to work. At some point, you would think that we would have to coordinate the effort, but we just don't. It is so fly by the seat of your pants. If our rebels were doing their macros like we do our podcasts, we would beat them. That's all I'm saying. Yep. We would be so mad. Like, how can you expect to lose weight if you're not planning your macros? But here we are, Cristy and the fruit of the spirit, and go, hey, welcome to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. I'm over here looking up scriptures. I mean, it's crazy what we do. So all podcasts are not created equal.
Well, that segues into my fifth and final one perfectly. And that is authenticity wins every time. I know that is the best thing about us, about me, about you, together, separately, about our coaches, about our mentors. Authenticity wins every time. People can sniff out a phony from a mile away. And I know that's why my Netflix documentary is, that we were moving forward with that all the platforms are interested in my documentary. I know that's why the videos do so well, is because we are authentic with you, that we don't try to cover up our mistakes, that we don't try to look better than what we are, that we show up the way we really are. We do try to put our best foot forward. We do try to put out effort, but we don't try to cover up pimples or mistakes or try to look a certain way. We're authentic, and it shows, and people love it, sis. And over the 200 episodes, that is, I think, what draws people into us, that we don't try to hide real life stuff that happens with us.
I think that, again, people can always tell when I get on a podcast and people aren't being real. I'm just like, I'm done. Like, I'm good. I don't need to hear it. And I think that we as humans have this innate sense of authenticity. And I think you're absolutely right. And I love it when I hear people listen to the podcast. You wouldn't believe the strangest places I've been. I mean, you've had it worse than me, that people are like, I love the podcast. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't know whether you watch or listen, but I want to say over 200 episodes that I appreciate each and every one of you that tune in. It means a lot to me. It really does. I love that you've gotten to know us. I love that you've been here through thick, through thin, through the Bible stories. And sometimes we get the wrong verse, the wrong chapter. Sometimes we say the wrong king. I've listened back and I've been like, oh, that was King Hezekiah, not King Nebuchadnezzar. Oops. You know what I mean? You guys love us anyway. And I just want you to know that it means a lot to me.
I like when I always listen to our podcast back, and not because it's narcissist or I'm conceited or whatever. It's because I try to learn. I try to improve. And what I notice is I say a lot. I sometimes I don't want to interrupt you. I want to make sure I'm not doing that. But what I love the most is when you make me laugh, and I laugh. I love to laugh at you. I've always said that you're the funniest person I know. And I know that not everybody in your life, Brandon, doesn't, they don't all think that. And I'm like, she's the funniest person I know. And my laugh for you, because we don't know what each other's going to say, it is genuine. It is authentic. And I love, that's my favorite thing about us, is when you make me laugh and I fall over laughing and I have tears in my eyes and I can't compose, try to get myself away from the microphone so I'm not laughing into the microphone, and it's really my favorite part about when you start to do your little songs or you say something funny and I laugh at you. And that's my favorite thing. And I love to I love to see me being caught off guard by your jokes.
Well, Cristy, I rewatched some of our old podcasts because I ran out. So I was re-listening to them with my AirPods when I was out in the barn, and I was laughing at if your hands are full with goo, wash your hands. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how by the way, I didn't totally made that up on the spot. Like, if your hands are really gooey and it didn't come from you. I don't know how I come up with these things, and I don't know. And I try really hard not to be overly, because I can take it. I can keep going with the jokes. Cristy can tell you, like, I try to rein it in a little bit. I don't want to get like an FCC rating change because of my jokes or something, but I love it. Cristy, it has been one of the most surprisingly enjoyable, fulfilling things that I've done with this position at Code Red, because I never thought I would do it. Number one, I never thought I would like it as much as I do. Number two, and I never thought it would be as impactful as it is. I sound like I don't have any faith. I do, but it has just been such a surprising, amazing thing to get to do with you. And I really do love it. And it's going to stand the test of time. When you and I are gone, those podcasts are still going to be around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's great. If you're an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, or if you're trying to spread the message of your own movement, you really should think about starting a podcast. You just got to be consistent with it. And one thing we are at Code Red about everything we do is consistent. You can always count on us. And I think that's what makes us stand the test of time as far as just in this very saturated industry of weight loss, is we are consistent. We show up every time. And so many people have gone out of business and they've failed and they're not able to make it because they show up through thick and thin. And Cari might not feel like it, and I might not feel like it. I can tell you right now, I'm PMS and I have a little bit of a headache, and I didn't, might not be our favorite thing, but man, we show up for you guys and you show up for us. And I want to echo Cari when I say thank you for being a part of this community. And thank you for listening and watching and subscribing and sharing over 200 episodes. And we are really grateful for you, because without you listening and watching, we would not have a podcast. It would just be a couple of sisters laughing through microphones where, we would just FaceTime each other. Like, it's not even, it's because of you. And so we love you and we appreciate you. And here's to 200 more. I mean, it's going to be so great. It's going to go by so fast, sis.
I agree with you 100%. And we love you guys. And we do really, really appreciate what you contribute to this, because again, it would be nothing. It would just be somebody's podcast that's, totally esoteric if it weren't for y'all listening to us. So we appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. And guys, we will see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, I'm Cristy Code Red, and thank you for listening to Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle. If you want to stay connected to other rebels like you, join us in our private network. Our Code Red app is a one-stop shop, free from ads, algorithms, and censorship, and a place where you can see, listen, and watch everything Code Red. You'll be encouraged, motivated, and fired up to stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. Get recipe ideas, tips, tricks, and help from coaches, mentors, and other rebels. You can also purchase products, programs, and coaching all right there in one place. And if you have any trouble navigating the app, we're right there to help you. Go to coderedlifestyle.com/APP to join for free. And I'll see you on the next episode of Rebel Weight Loss and Lifestyle.